Alright, yo, it's your boy Tim the Dasher, and I'm about to show you how to make at least $125 every day and kill it in 2021. Stay tuned. Alright, so before I jump into this, let me just clarify one thing. Alright, driving around for Doordash is fast money. Fast money. It's not big money. It's fast money, right? Driving around for Doordash is like, it's a similar concept to like waiting tables, to sales, to flipping shit on eBay, right? It is not like fucking investing in the stock market or doing real estate and shit like that, right? You're hustling. You're not fucking like sitting back and collecting shit. You're out working for your shit. And it's fast, dude. You're stacking order after order after order, making that amount that you need to make, right? So first you need to get into that mindset of like, hey, I'm out here to hit a fucking goal, not I'm out here to just collect my favorite fucking number like it's Sesame Street. All right. So before I jump in and start telling you all the strategies and stuff like that, I'm going to tell you about the two extremes of the Doordash philosophy, if you will. All right, on the one end of the spectrum, you've got the decline now cats. They're basically the communists of fucking Doordash, right? They think that, if they just decline enough and bully everybody into declining enough shit, that Doordash will be forced to pay the drivers more. And the fatal flaw of this is, you're an independent contractor, you're not an employee, so you're not even close to being a union or anything like that. So that's just not going to work. The ultimate problem with that philosophy is like, if you base your strategy on taking unicorns, then it's not going to be long before the money in your bank account turns into a fucking fairy tale. It ain't going to be happily ever after. Okay, and by the way, unicorn is like a really high paying order. Okay, and then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got the top dasher cats. Now, the top dasher way of thinking is, I'm going to take everything and anything that Doordash throws at me. Okay, now the fatal flaw with this one is, man, if you're just willing to take anything that Doordash gives, you're going to end up taking stupid shit like $3 for 12 miles and shit like that. And you're going to end up wasting a lot of valuable time and not making very much money. You're going to be out here for like 5 hours before you hit like $50 because you're taking, orders that don't make any sense. Now, the only way that it does make sense to take one of these extremes is if this is just a part-time gig for you. You've got a full-time job, so riding around for Doordash is just straight money to pocket for you, so it doesn't really make a difference. But if you're doing this full-time and this is your primary source of income like me, you really need a strategy, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pick out a zone. Now, when I say a zone, I don't mean a hot spot like Doordash recommends. I mean an area of town with a cluster of restaurants, okay? I usually go to somewhere like a promenade mall or just any place, any, parking lot that's around like a bunch of restaurants. Like right now, I'm in the parking lot of a promenade mall. And all around me, it's got like a Five Guys Burgers, it's got a Ruth Chris, it's got a Mojitos, it's got a whole bunch of restaurants. So the reason why you want to do this is because the closer you are to restaurants, the more likely you are to get orders. I know that seems obvious to most of you, but there's some people out there that think they can just kind of turn it on and sit at home and just kind of collect orders that way. And while that's possible, you're not going to get as many and you're not going to get as good of quality of orders. Like, it's best to go around an area of town with a lot of restaurants. Now, when I say restaurants, I mean like big boy restaurants, right? I don't mean like fast food and shit like that. You want to stay away from big clusters of fast food restaurants. Reason being is because A, you're trying to move quick out here, right? You're trying to boom, 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 stack up orders quickly. If you go to a fast food restaurant, chances are pretty good you're going to be stuck behind like a long line at the drive-thru, which you do not want to fucking do, because that kind of shit can really eat up valuable time. All right, and the second reason is because fast food is really cheap, man, and that's great when you're gonna go get something to eat or whatever, but you got to understand, most people base their tip off of how much they're spending. So you got to think, man, when you can go feed a family of 6 for like under $30, like at fast food and shit, you're not going to get that big of a tip on it. So pick a zone around a bunch of big boy restaurants and start, getting ready to take, order after order around your zone. All right, so now that we picked out our zone and stuff, what you want to do now is you want to establish some parameters. Now, when I say parameters, I'm not talking about physical parameters. I'm talking about what's the lowest amount of money you're willing to take on an order versus the most amount of miles you're willing to drive for said order. So these are things that you're going to have to kind of figure out for yourself, but you'll figure it out. I mean, it won't take you long to figure it out either, but I will give you an example. Okay. So right now I'm dashing in a more upscale area. As a result, you have all the businesses on this side of town, and all the residents are on the other side of town. So drive times are a little bit more here. So the lowest amount of money I'm willing to take out here is $8, but that's mainly because the average drive time is about 4 or 5 miles. Now, in a perfect world, a mile is only going to take you about 2 minutes to drive. And when I say a perfect world, I mean like a world without, traffic and without, stop signs and traffic lights and shit like that. But in the real world, you've got traffic and stoplights and rush hour and all this kind of shit. So, I mean, a mile doing this can take you every bit of 5 fucking minutes. Wherever I'm at, I don't drive more than 6 miles for an order unless it's just like $15 or something like that, because it's going to take too fucking long. And then there is a town, a little college town about 20 miles up the highway that I love to dash in, but it's a lot more urban. So, businesses and residents are kind of mixed together, so drive times are a lot lower, and I'm willing to take like $5 and $6 orders out there because I'm going to get that shit done within 10 minutes. I can get about 4 deliveries done in an hour, and that's not bad. And you also want to establish, how long you're willing to wait at a restaurant. Okay. Myself, I only wait about 5 minutes at a restaurant. So if I get to a restaurant and they're still working on it, I always ask, about how much longer? And if they say, it's going to be about 10 or 15 more minutes, I don't get rude or anything. I just say, okay, thank you. And I unassign it, and I go on, because I can't sit around and wait that long and expect to make money quick. But some people give it like 10 minutes, For me, though, I give it 5. All right. So whenever an order pops up on your screen, you'll notice that it says the amount, and then right next to it, it'll say the amount of miles that you're going to drive. Now, when DoorDash shows you those miles, it's including the whole round trip, like from where you are to the restaurant, then to the customer's house, like all of the miles that you're going to be driving. But here's the thing. Like, you need to know all that shit for, like, your taxes and stuff. But when you're deciding on whether to take an order or not, the only thing you need to worry about is the miles from the restaurant to the customer's house. Okay? Because you're already going to a restaurant and shit. Like, that's what's happening. That's what you do. And let me give you an example. So I'm in my zone, and DoorDash throws an order up on my screen and says, 5 Guys Burgers, $8 for 5 miles. Okay, so I'm in my zone. That means it's about 5 miles from the restaurant. So I'm like, bet. And I go ahead and take it. And then I go out into the residential neighborhood and drop it off at the address. And then I hit complete delivery. And then right after that, DoorDash sends me another one and says, hey, Five Guys Burgers, $8 for 10 miles. Now, knee-jerk reaction, is like, shit, dude, 10 miles, that's way too far, for $8. But what you got to understand is, well, you're 5 miles away from the restaurant, right? So you're already going back to that place. So it's more like $8 for 5 miles, because you're already, 5 miles deep into that residential neighborhood you were just at. And that's what I mean. You got to do a little deduction on your part to just kind of figure out, like, how far away you are from the restaurant, and then kind of subtract that off of the total amount of miles. Okay, because you got to think, man, how many times have you, like, declined something that seems like, it would have been a good order, but man, it was just a few miles too far. Well, how far away were you from that restaurant? And that's what I'm saying. Like, you like think like that, and it's gonna save you a lot of time, and it's gonna make you it's gonna help you decide what orders to take more, like, logically and reasonably. And right here is where I'm gonna, like, interject some friendly advice. When you first start out doing this, make, like, a mental note of restaurants that always seem to take too long. And, drive times alone aren't what holds you up the most. A lot of times it's sitting around waiting at restaurants. It's stumbling around in apartments trying to find the right building number and shit. These kinds of things can slow you up way more than drive times ever could. You want to stay moving. All right. The second bit of advice I have is I strongly suggest that you don't take anything under $5. Now, this is your business. You run it how you want to, but just a friendly advice from Dasher to Dasher. Look, man, anything under $5, it's not going to stack up. Like, I can get about 4 deliveries done in an hour, and $5, at least I can make about $20 in that hour. But like $3, get 4 of those done in an hour, that's only like $12. So 3 and 4, it just doesn't stack up very good. A. And then B, the strongest red flag indication that you have that a customer is going to turn around after you drop the food off and tell DoorDash that they didn't get the food so they can get it for free is that they don't tip. I'm guessing the thinking behind it is like, well, just in case something goes wrong and I can't get my money back, I'm not going to spend more than I have to, if that makes sense. But I've got about 1,500 deliveries under my belt at this point. And since I've been dashing, no shit, I've had 5, they're called contract violations, which means the customer claimed they didn't get the food after they got it. Luckily, I had a picture every time. Always take a picture, by the way, even if DoorDash doesn't prompt you to. But, I've always had the picture. But the thing is, 3 out of those 5 orders were a stacked order. I'll get into stacked orders here in a bit. And, DoorDash was like, hey, for extra $4 and only going a mile, do you want this $4 order? And it's just like, yeah, what the hell? It's going to turn my $10 order into a $14 order for only going an extra mile. Sure. Well, the problem was, like, not 5 minutes after I dropped that $4 off that, fucking DoorDash would come at me with, hey, this person said you didn't deliver their food. It's very frustrating, because then you got to stop what you're doing and fucking, go into the dispute thing and fucking, explain to DoorDash what happened and shit. It's annoying. And, don't fucking make a mistake about it. Like, if DoorDash thinks that you're stealing food and shit, they will deactivate you. And unfortunately, it's really easy for somebody to get on DoorDash and get food for free. Apparently, all they got to do is say that they didn't get their food, and DoorDash has to refund them and shit, which is fucked up. But the thing is, like, it comes out on you, and that's why stay away from $3 and $4 orders, man. It's a red flag that a customer is going to turn right around and say that they didn't get their fucking food. All right. So let's get into stacked and double orders, okay? Now, both of those can either be your best friend or your worst enemy. So first, let me clarify what those are. All right. A stacked order is when you're on your way to a restaurant or Walmart or Walgreens or whatever, and then right before you get there, DoorDash sends you another order, basically saying the same thing as an original order, like, hey, for an extra whatever miles, would you like this order from either the restaurant you're already going to or a restaurant or whatever nearby, and you can decide whether you want to take that or not. Sometimes it can be a good deal. Sometimes it's like, dude, really? No, I'm not going to go somewhere for an extra $2, All right, and a double order is like whenever you get an order, but at the top it'll say like 2 orders, right? So it'll let you like go in there and kind of look at some of the details, but the problem with double orders is you don't know how much the amount is on each order until you get there. So let's say that DoorDash sends me, it's like Walmart, because that's what I get a lot of around here is Walmart. It's 2 orders, it's $18, and it's going 9 miles. I'm like, okay. And then I get there, and one of them is like $16, and the other one's like $4. Now, this is a problem, because remember what I said previously about, people not tipping. Sometimes it indicates that, they're going to turn around and say they didn't get their shit. I've never experienced that on a Walmart order, but it can happen, They can be your best friends, too. This is a way to turn, like, a regular or small amount into a really large amount for going about the same amount of miles and taking about the same amount of time. Sometimes, though, it's not worth it, and you're going to have to kind of use your best judgment on that. All right, and I'm going to wrap this up by talking about market saturation. Okay, it's something that every DoorDash driver, full-time or part-time, is going to have to deal with at some point or another. A couple weeks ago, this little girl asked a really good question on one of my YouTube videos. She asked, what do you do when it gets really slow during the summertime? This is a great question because it's something that you have to deal with, and if you don't know how, or you don't know how to think outside the box and shit, you'll just end up as one of the many that just is like, man, fuck this isn't worth it and shit. The thing is, it's just the market is saturated with drivers at that point in time. Around my way, it's summertime. I'm around a college area, so, during the summertime and shit, school lets out, teachers and students alike are, not working and stuff, and so they do DoorDash and shit like that. And it's the same thing across every industry, man. The market gets saturated from time to time. But with DoorDash, you don't have to, stop at like 10 or 11 o'clock or what time most restaurants close and shit, right? You can keep going after that. And so, my personal favorite way to deal with market saturation doing this is by dashing at night. Dashing at night can be a little bit scary because it's harder to see, and it can be more frustrating finding apartments and address numbers and shit, but just bring a flashlight, and really it's just a matter of getting used to it. Another way to deal with it is something I call the top dasher technique. But the thing is, acceptance rate is where it gets tough for most people, because that is the amount of orders that you're accepting. Normally, my acceptance rate is like 30% or below, because I'm pretty picky with orders. But if you want to be top dasher, you got to get it up to 70%. Now, you don't necessarily have to take every single order that comes your way, but you do want to use your acceptance rate as kind of like a budget, and that way the next month after that you can get top dasher and dash whenever the fuck you want to. All right, but so those are 2 good ways to handle market saturation. Anyway, I'm Tim the Dasher. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and checking me out and stuff. Like and subscribe and all that good shit if you like this video, and I will see you guys later, man.